LCS this year. They had a huge player strike. They had a huge issue between the corporations that run the LCS who really want to just make money and the players who they care about getting better at League and want an environment for them to be safe and allowed to do so. During all of this, a couple organizations drop out of the league. CLG and TSM gone, but CLG's last almost full North American roster rebranded onto this NRG team, take first place and surprise everybody by beating Cloud9, the clear favorites. So let's talk about it. NRG is a team of North American talents taking first place this year. They beat a bunch of teams, some even like Team Liquid, that completely built around Korean imports. Cloud9, their best player being Berserker, a Korean import. NRG beats them with North American players. I'm super excited for this roster. It's the most exciting for an NA fan to actually see NA talent. All of their players show huge potential. FBI himself, he has these moments, I think, where he sees the big play, but he's a little slow to react. I've always seen FBI as like this consistent ADC. He's not going to lose you the game, but he isn't going to make the play to win you the game. You can see, especially in the grand finals, while he's a little slow on making these plays, he's looking for them. We'll see if he continues to grow in this way and if he can become a top ADC. Ignar with him, together they're pretty solid on lane, but Ignar's always been a player who's more focused on roaming, and in this meta, the jungler and support grouping together and roaming together and going for plays wherever is a lot more relevant. So Ignar's already kind of experienced in this kind of meta. He already does this thing. He's very good at it. Palafox really impressed me in their playoff run. He has some really insanely good mechanical plays in these games, and his laning is really impressive. I'm excited to see how he's going to match up against these Eastern mid laners. Contracts has some absolutely grief plays, and I think outside of North America, these teams that are much better than North American teams are going to punish NRG a lot harder when Contracts goes for these plays and they don't go well. For every int play Contracts has in the early game, he also has really, really good plays. So the dives will work or they won't work, and that's just going to be a decider for how the games go probably. And Dokla, his regular season, he was at the bottom of the top laners in North America, but in the playoff run, he managed to win lane against every single top laner that was there. When he's on, he's contesting the best top laners in North America. We'll see how that translates towards the bigger talent. And if he falls back to his regular season performance, he definitely will be an issue for NRG. As a team, they do a couple things really, really good in fights. Their target selection and the speed at which they all collapse onto a target is really fast and is probably one of the reasons why they were able to take down these other North American teams in playoffs. They really all click and kind of play on the same page once they're on. Another thing they do is there are multiple Baron plays they go for where it is a straight 5v5, but because they have control of the Baron, they use their disengaged tools to keep the jungler out of the pit. And what looks like what could be a 50-50 Baron is almost always 100% in their favor because the enemy jungler cannot get into the pit. So we'll see how they do. They definitely have a chance to play spoiler. And if they are really like feeling it going into the tournament, if they have good scrim results and their first few days of groups are great, I can see this team making it to quarterfinals, possibly even further. I think Cloud9 is an interesting team. I think in terms of talent, they have some of the best players North America has ever had. Berserker in particular, if you slotted him into almost any top 4 Chinese or Korean teams, he would just fit right in on their roster. The level of play would not drop from that team. He is that good to be a world-class AD carry. I think Blabber, it's very well known at this point, he's probably North America's best player that we've ever had, and he just keeps getting better and better, and every year competition gets better even if it doesn't seem like that, and Blabber is still always at the top. No matter what iteration of Cloud9 it is, he is top 2, top 1, MVP level jungler. And Fudge, while recently internationally has been criticized, his first tournament at MSI when Perks was still on Cloud9, he showed that he has the potential to perform at a top level. Whether he can find that again this Worlds, we'll have to see. And then we have to talk about the other 2 players. Mnus I don't know how much I want to talk about him. I think we don't even know if he's going to be playing yet. By the rules, he probably shouldn't be playing. Now, if he is playing, he is very questionable. I think he has solid lane phases, but he had games in the finals where he was in position to carry. He had the gold, the resources, but he failed. And he himself has said that he's not happy with his finals performance. So we'll have to see if this is something he can look back on and grow and get better for Worlds. But he is definitely a weak link in this roster. And Cloud9's worst player is Sven. Sven is the worst support showing up at Worlds. In the Swiss bracket, in this Swiss stage, he will be the bottom 16th support player. Every single support is better than this guy. He's played with his ADC for a year and a half now, and there are moments in this finals where they clearly do not have synergy. They are not playing together. There's no engage this guy is going to find that's going to win you the game. There's no pick that he finds that's going to win the game. No angle. He doesn't peel well. He just doesn't understand the support role, it seems. I think while he is still a great player, if he was still an ADC, he just is not a great support. And I think that every time internationally that gets showcased, and against better supports, he just is not there. So we'll see what happens with Cloud9. I think Sven is a weak link, and possibly their mid laner is a weak link. I think if they get someone like Jensen or Jojo, like people are suggesting, this is a quarterfinals level team. I think those players can stand against mid lane talent in the East. So we'll see. Team Liquid, they had this experiment earlier in the year. They got 5 Korean players, full Korean staff. At the start of the summer, maybe halfway through summer, they started putting in APA. They've looked a lot better with APA. The idea behind this roster, let's talk about it. They have a team with veteran, accomplished level players, and a couple of rookies. So they're veterans. Core JJ, he's been a staple in North America on Team Liquid for a while now. Always a very, very good support. Won Worlds in Season 7. Yojic, world champion on this DRX roster that made an unthinkable Worlds run. If anybody could make an insane Worlds run on a roster that no one expects to win, it's this guy. Yojic has been playing playoffs insanely well. Looking back at Worlds 2022, all of the playoffs, he was an insane player. Like the mechanical plays that this guy's making is wild. And again, one of the champions he had the best success on last year, I would say Viego. Team Liquid plays really good Viego comps. They have set up for this guy to carry. Their last veteran, Summit, he came to North America once, got MVP on a roster that didn't care for him. In playoffs, he's been playing a bit more patient, been getting caught out in side lane a little bit less, even though it still happened. That is an issue that Team Liquid will have to look to either capitalize off of or still fix, but Summit can lane against any of top laner at Worlds. Let's talk about their rookies. APA is really fucking good. He is the reason Team Liquid wins games. He has a strong laning phase, but that is where he will be the most tested. Can he stand against people like Chovy, Scout, Faker, Knight? We will see. Caps. Will Caps clap this guy in lane? Will somebody like Humanoid clap this guy in lane? People who have proven themselves internationally. It's his first time on the stage, so he has a potential to do well if he can handle himself in lane. Once he gets to team fights, I don't really want to make the comparison, but there are like 3 mid laners in the world that I would say consistently can find huge engages and huge plays, and it would be APA, Faker, and Scout. When you put this guy on Nico, it's different than the other mid laners on Nico. He just finds engages. Their other rookie, Yeon, he definitely has potential. He has some plays that are not so great. Just needs to work on his positioning, his laning, his CSing, using the map, auto spacing, auto attacking. I'm excited to see APA play and see how he stands. This guy has an insanely promising future as a North America fan. He is somebody to watch. And now North America's 4th place team, Golden Guardians, they will be playing the 4th place team from Europe, BDS. And I want to talk about the specific matchup between those two teams a little later in the week. Golden Guardians himself, I think this team is hard to judge on a surface level. Players like Huhi and River, while even I have been critical of them in the past, especially like River has this one Rengar game where you watch it and it's just like disgusting. You'd never want to see this guy pick Rengar ever again after watching this game. And Huhi can have these plays where he goes in for an engage and like, it just looks like a complete grief. Like there's no one around him or no one follows him up, even if it's maybe he slightly misses a carry. These things like on a surface level you can look at and it's really easy to say, yes, these are really bad plays that have happened. But like Stixxay is not good, and neither is Gory. I've been a huge Gory fan ever since Red Force. He is not a carry player. Stixxay had this huge like redemption arc going on in the LCS. Every like promo for Golden Guardians is like Stixxay, old man showing up. He's still good. He still has it, but I don't think he does. Like this guy, he's outclassed by every single ADC showing up at this tournament, possibly even all the play-in teams. I think he could be bottom of those ones. His positioning is like really bad in fights, and like he gets caught on waves outside of fights when his team isn't around. Obviously has moments when he looks good, and it's like when he has 4 items on Zeri in like a game where they're ahead and they're gonna win. Besides that, like Stixxay does not look good to me. Gory makes awful plays, and like he consistently makes plays away from his team. Like he's consistently making solo plays on that aren't and do not work out. If you don't want to see your carry going for solo plays and just absolutely like grief them. He absolutely has grief plays that like I'm not reading into too much, but if he was my mid laner and I saw him do these things in playoffs, I also would get tilted. River, I think, is really good, but it is clear in these longer series in games that like go too long, maybe his mental suffers a little bit and he plays a little bit worse. And I think Hui is similar. Licorice, I think, is this team's best player. This guy has completely turned around. He's talked about having a little bit of mental struggle coming into this year and not thinking he was that good anymore, but he's clearly found the confidence again, and he is the best top out of North America. It's just kinda on him if he can 1v9, I feel like. I think we'll see. I'm a huge Licorice fan. I think this guy's great. We'll see about the rest of the team. Overall, I think the LCS this year, there are teams here that have the potential to play spoiler to these big Eastern teams. I think it's obviously not an insanely hot take to say none of these teams are winning Worlds. There are definitely situations, because of the Swiss bracket being best of 1 into best of 3, where we can have like an NRG 2-0, possibly winning a best of 3 to get out immediately into quarterfinals. I think it's much more likely that we just see North American teams possibly denying Eastern teams from being 2-0 or the other European teams. We'll see. I think they have the potential to play spoiler, and that's about it. Maybe a quarterfinals in here.